Hi, everybody. Tina from LifeWire here. Today, we're going to talk about healthy boundaries. So, you're going to learn how to set boundaries that are healthy. So, let me start and let me go ahead and share my screen with you, and we will get started now. You may want to go ahead while I'm pulling up my slide. Just make sure you have a pen and paper handy. You'll probably need that. All right, beautiful. All right, so let me share this with you. Here we go. All right, here we go. Let me put up my chat so I can see if you guys have any questions. All right, there we go. All right. So you guys, so part of saying yes to yourself is about saying no to others. So sometimes we have a hard time saying no. And when we have a hard time saying no, then we spend our days feeling exhausted and stretched thin. We have all these moments when we feel, you know, just exhausted, and when we reflect upon something we've committed to out of obligation and say to ourselves, in hindsight, I should never have agreed to this. It often brings up feelings of regret and resentment. So why do we say yes when we really mean no? So it's stop asking why you keep doing it and start asking why you keep allowing it. Setting healthy boundaries, it brings awareness of codependency. It's honors your core values and it helps you communicate your boundaries. The first reason why we say yes when we really mean no is that we're seeking approval. When someone asks us to do something that we really don't want to do, our wish for them to love and approve us overrides our wish for self-care. And it's uncomfortable sometimes to face that fact. And saying yes when we really mean no can also come from a place of not wanting to let others down, especially when it's our loved ones. We want to be there for them in every possible way, but if that means at the expense of ourselves, then something needs to shift. So I'm going to teach you some tools today, and I just want to make sure, just to reiterate, many times, that we say yes, it's because we are being unrealistic about what we can really do. That our inner superwoman that lives inside of us all thinks we can accomplish 1,000 tasks a day without a hitch. And then we realize we've put ourselves behind the 8 ball, so to speak, and we end up feeling frustrated that nothing's gotten done, and being realistic about how much time things take and what we can really handle can help us say no to piling more onto our already full plates. So saying yes when you mean no also means we're not weighing our priorities. By checking in before we say yes and saying to yourself, is this a top priority? That can help discern whether or not you should commit to it. And just knowing what your priorities are can help. For example, my daughter is my top priority. When my friends ask me to do a favor, I scan and see if this will affect what I need to do first, for my daughter at home. So tool one I'm going to share with you today is awareness of codependency. And by recognizing if you're in a codependent relationship, you can shift out of it and establish healthy boundaries. Speaking of my daughter, I'm always checking in to see, if I'm doing something for her, if she could easily do for herself. That goes for anybody, friends, parents, spouses, any loved ones, right? As our children age, it's important that we don't enable them and we give them tasks and we help breed their independence. And by doing things for them that they're already and capable to do on their own, we're not only hurting ourselves, we're also hurting them. So again, simply having the awareness, I encourage you just go ahead forward in this week and start having that awareness of where to start saying no instead of saying yes. That's going to be a victory. All right. It'll be something to celebrate. It's good to gradually work this in to begin to gently say no where it's appropriate. It's not about saying no to everyone and everything, but gradually, baby steps, moving into a place where you feel comfortable with not always having to say yes. You also do not always have to over explain yourself with an entire drawn out story as to why you're saying no. Right. So, for example, if a friend asks you to pick up their child from school and take them home, and that doesn't work for you in your day, you simply say, I'm sorry, that's not going to work for us today. No, you guys, no is a complete sentence. So this week, we're going to explore first why you say yes when you really mean no, and then slowly start practicing saying no gently where it feels appropriate. See if you can free up more time for yourself to do the things that make you feel rested and replenished so that you can focus on your creative action commitment, right? So tool number one is just being aware of codependency by recognizing if you're in a codependent relationship, you can shift out of it by establishing healthy boundaries. There's three types of codependence. There's caretakers, relates to others and roles that make them the caregiver, helper, a giver, a supporter, a nurturer. Everyone needs are more important than my own. Okay, so if you say that, you're in the perfect workshop. Another area is romance and relationships. Must be in a relationship and be special in order to be okay with oneself. May use caretaking or sexuality for approval or acceptance. Goes from relationship to relationship. You are no one unless someone loves you. And the Messiah complex, the savior of everyone, friends, family, coworkers, over responsible, doesn't ask for help, tries to make themselves indispensable to everyone. If I don't do it, it's not going to get done. Who are you? Do you recognize yourself in any of these three types of codependence? I encourage you to get out your notepad and write down if you notice which one you relate with the most. So the symptoms of codependence are poor boundaries, low self-esteem, people pleasing, being reactive or defensive, caretaking, control, dysfunctional communication, dependency, problems with intimacy, feeling anxious or fearful, and a lack of assertiveness. Tool number 2 is honoring your core values. To know thyself is one of the most powerful things we can do as humans. Uncovering and honoring our values is so important, you guys, so that we can be aware if something else is dishonoring our values. So let's talk about values. We all have a list of values. So what we're going to do is do an experience right now. And I just want you to get curious, okay, and have your pad of paper ready. And let's talk about values. So on the page here, you're going to see a list of values, okay? A value is your North Star. It's precise, it's clear. They're the beliefs that are the most important to you and dear to you, that help you find your way in the dark. Okay, that fill you up, that fills your cup when it feels empty. So taking a look at this page, I would like you to just look at the page, and you're welcome to write your own if something's not on here, but I'd like you to write your own. Or you can also circle. So why don't you just go ahead and circle, I want you to circle your top 10. Why don't we do that? Circle the top 10 that you feel are the most important to you. So I'll leave this up for a minute and I'll just give you a few seconds to do that. Just kind of go through the list, and on your piece of paper, just write down your top 10 list of core values. Okay, I'll leave it up for a few more seconds before I go up to the next page. And I can always come back to this if we need to. Just put it in the chat if you need more time. And if you're done, go ahead and type in done so I can see that. Okay, done, done, done. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and move on now. So now what we're going to do is we're going to do an exercise, low experience in life. Okay. So I want you to rate how well you're honoring those values. Now, my slide says 6 core values. I had you pick 10. but I would like you anywhere from 6 to 10 values. You could even take the 10 values you wrote down and now go back through them and circle the top 6. And then I want you to rate next to that those 6 core values out of the 10, the nuggets, right? The nuggets that just you want to honor. So out of those 6 values, from a 1 to 10, 10 being you honor it perfectly, 1 being it's not even on the scale. Thinking about your close relationships, how well are you honoring those 6 values? And again, next to each word that you wrote down, pick the top 6, and I want you to write from a 1 to 10 how well you're honoring these 6 core values. Again, 1 being not at all, 10 being couldn't get any better. So I'll give you a few seconds to do that and just go ahead and type done in the chat so that I know that you're finished. I'll give you a few seconds to do that. Okay, I'm seeing done. Okay, great. And I'd love for you to put in the chat too, is there anything you're noticing that? Are you seeing that you have mostly 3s or 4s? Anything here surprise you? No? Yeah. 1. Yeah. No, definitely. Yeah. I see that, Lisa. I totally, it's a completely normal. And this is why we do this exercise, because now we're realizing what our core values are, and we're realizing what's low and then what we need to work on. Okay. So let's go to prompt 2. So for anything that you rated, we'll say a 7 or below, which of your 6 core values are not being met or honored because you are not asking for what you need from others or taking time out for yourself to honor them? So I want you now to put a little star next to anything that you rated 7 or below, right? So your 6 core values that they're not being met or honored. Okay. And I just want you to put a little star next to those ones that are rated below 7. I'll give you a couple seconds to do that. And just go ahead and put done in the chat, and then I'll move on. Oh, beautiful. Okay. I see done. Okay. Done. All right. Beautiful. All right. So let's move on. So prompt number 3, what action steps are you committed to taking that will have you honor these values more? So what action steps are you committed to taking? Maybe it's just saying no, honoring your yes or no. Either it's yes or it's no. You don't remember, no is a complete sentence. So what action steps? Maybe you're going to look at this week and say, you know what, this week I am committed to clean out my closet on Tuesday at 8:30 a.m. and I'm going to dedicate 1 hour to do that because I know that clearing clutter is going to make room for what I really want. But then at 8:30, you get sidetracked and you're like, oh, there's a sink full of dishes. So let me wash those first. Oh, you know what? I really need to mop the floor, right? So an action step that you're committed to taking is, no, I'm going to honor this value. I'm going to show up for myself. I committed to clean out my closet today from this time to this time, and that's what I'm going to do. Nothing else. It's like a sacred appointment with yourself. So go ahead and write down what action steps you're committed to taking to honor these more. And I would love for you guys to share it in the chat too, what your action steps are that you're committed to. Oh, Jessica, I love that. Sticking to your daily calendar. Okay. Liz, oh, I love that's awesome. Just practice saying no and remembering that no is a complete sentence. Great, you guys are doing great. I love it. I hope you guys are finding this useful. All right, so let's go on to the next stage. Tool number 3 is about communicating your boundaries. Okay, so let's talk about boundaries. So now that we know what our core values are, boundaries, you guys, are not barbed wire fences, love, boundaries are the poetry, that tell others how to love, how to respect, how to connect with us. Boundaries, look at it as the choreography of your relationships. in all aspects of your life, guiding the steps of your interactions. Boundaries are love in action. Okay. When you're setting boundaries, that's a tool of self-love for yourself, and it's also love for other people. Okay. So I want you to remember that, and about communicating your boundaries and remembering, again, I'm going to reiterate this probably throughout this entire presentation, but no is a complete sentence. So often we find ourselves saying no, but no, because no. If it doesn't align with, your values, the answer is simply no. Somebody doesn't like that. That's okay. That's on them. That's on you. You're communicating, right? You're communicating what your boundaries are. So communicating your boundaries, we do this by clearly and compassionately communicating your core values and boundaries. It lets the other person know what your expectations of them are. So, for example, you could say to your boss, one of my core values is having a healthy work-life balance so that I can spend time with my family. So when you're asked to work overtime without warning, you can say, when you ask me to work overtime without warning, I feel that crosses a boundary and compromises my core values. Okay. So now you're making a statement. Okay. Makes sense? All right. Let's move on. So communicating your boundaries. So when dealing with boundaries that are crossed, keep your core values at the forefront of your mind and refer to them during the conversation. You can even take those 6 core values you wrote down. You could make a screensaver on your phone with them. Something, write them down on a sticky note and stick it in your car. Stick it on your bathroom mirror and remember. And it could say, I am honoring my core values, and then write them down and have it at the forefront of your mind and refer to them during conversation. So for example, say you're in a relationship and you could say to your partner, you know what, I love you and I want our relationship to be successful, right? So since cooperation is one of my core values, we need to cooperate in order to succeed in our relationship. That makes sense? Okay, beautiful. So, or you could say, when you leave the dirty dishes in the sink after I make dinner, I feel you're not cooperating, and that makes me feel sad. How can we cooperate better? Right? So now you're not pointing the finger. Now you're not saying, you know what, I cook dinner and you never do the dishes. You leave it for me to do. Instead, you're saying how you feel, okay, why, and what it is that you need, right? So when you leave the dirty dishes in the sink after I make dinner, I feel you're not cooperating, right? And that makes me feel sad. Or I feel sad when I see dirty dishes in the sink after I make dinner. How can we, cooperate better together, operate better together? Okay. So now you're not being, pointing fingers at them, right? Because when you do that, then that's going to make somebody to get on the defensive. Okay. So prompt number 4. So what I want you to do is I want you to write this out on your paper. A boundary I want to draw is, and I'll give you a few seconds to do this. So write on your paper, a boundary I want to draw is. And then I want you to complete that sentence. Okay, boundary I want to draw is, and then I want you to complete that sentence. So now we're making an action statement so that you can honor the boundaries that you're wishing to set. Okay, so a boundary I want to draw is. Okay, beautiful. Go ahead and put done in the chat. And you can even go back after this class and you can write out more sentences. Maybe you want to draw boundaries in other areas, right? Than the one you're writing right now. But for this class, we're just going to pick one boundary that you want to draw. Remember, that boundary needs to honor your core values. Okay. Daring to set boundaries is about having the courage to love ourselves, even when we risk disappointing others. That's by one of my favorites, Brene Brown, and I absolutely love this quote because it's about having the courage to love ourselves. I'm a big advocate on self-love. Those of you that work with me know that it's about loving yourself first without feeling guilty or selfish, And sometimes when we say no, it disappoints somebody else. Our best friend calls up, hey, Saturday night, I've got tickets to go, see this band, I want to go to dinner first and then we can go out, right? Sounds like a great time. You love spending time with your best friend, but you know what? Saturday night, you had already set aside that evening you were going to have an evening of self-care. Maybe you were planning a hot bubble bath. Maybe you were going to meditate. Maybe you were going to just watch a movie you've been wanting to watch and just take time for yourself, you know? And so you tell her, I would love to. That sounds like a great time, but no, I'm not going to be able to do that this week. But I would love to schedule something like that in the future. But this week I have plans. The answer is no, right? And so they're disappointed. So remember, when someone gets disappointed, it's because they had expectations on what they were expecting of you. Okay, does that make sense? So when we, like in my Clarity Catalyst, we teach my 8-week course, I have a whole week where I teach about no expectations, because what happens is when we're disappointed, we have to stop, look, and get curious and say, did I have an expectation on the outcome? The answer is normally yes. Okay. And that's okay. Again, we're just getting curious about that, seeing when there's expectation. So when we disappoint somebody else, it's usually because they had an expectation of what it was going to look like, or what you were going to say, or what the event was. Okay. Does that make sense? Okay. Beautiful. Yeah. Yeah. Okay. All right, you guys. So let me stop sharing here for a minute. So, this is just, like I said, a really quick, class. I appreciate you guys hopping on here and participating. You can go back to that list of core values anytime that you want. And again, you can create your own. You don't have to use the ones that I put together. You can create your own, but really looking at it and am I honoring my core values? So, in review, I want you to write down your list of 6 core values. Like I said, you could write them down and save them into your phone. You could make a screensaver out of that. You could write it on a Post-it note and put it up, like I said, on your bathroom mirror. You could put it up in your car, up on your visor, somewhere where you see it every day, and ask yourself, am I honoring my core values today? And again, practice saying no and remembering that no is a complete sentence. If somebody doesn't like the fact that you say no, and you do it in a loving way, it's like, you're not going to say, no, I'm not going to do that, or I don't want to, that sounds like a horrible time, or no, I'm busy. Why do you keep wanting to put more on my plate? You're not going to say that. Just no is a complete sentence, and you say it lovingly, right? And ask yourself, so your action step for this week is to practice saying no. So honoring your yes and your no. Okay. So let me give you one more example. So again, going back to the friend who invites you to dinner, right, on Saturday night in a movie or a concert or whatever it is, calls you up, texts you, whatever, and says, hey, I got tickets. I was thinking we can go to dinner first. We're going to leave at 5. And you look at your core values, and does that honor? So if your core values was you were going to be cleaning out the closet on Saturday night, or doing self-care or whatever it was, needing to get something done, then the answer is simply no. If they're disappointed, it's because they were having an expectation. Okay. If they get upset, that's not you. That's something that they need to work on. Right. And so know that it's not you. So everything this week is honoring yes or no. So somebody asks you to do something. Is it yes or is it no? And I want you to trust the first answer that comes into your mind, because that's your gut wisdom and that is the answer. Okay. And that's what you say, and not explaining. I don't know, we're so quick to want to explain, can you work overtime? Well, I had plans tonight, or I would need to pick up my daughter because she's got soccer practice, but maybe I could stay 30 minutes because now you're trying to please, right? And it's like, no, I can't, and then you practice like what I was saying, no. And when you ask me to work, overtime at the last minute, that does not honor the boundaries that I've set for myself, so in the future, if you could ask me, a day or two ahead of time, I can see if I can fit that into my schedule. And if I can, I'm more than happy to do that. Make sense? So anyways, my next 8-week Clarity Catalyst class, if you want more information about it, visit my website. I'll put it in the link below, but I can put it in the chat for you guys too. It's life-wire.net. Let me type that in for you. I don't know if you guys can see my chat on my Zoom recording now, but for those of you that are on here, life-wire.net. You can go on there, read more about the Clarity Catalyst course, my coaching programs. I also offer 15-minute calls to discuss to see if the class is right for you, if one-on-one coaching is right for you, and just kind of discuss what it is that you want to be experiencing in life that you're not experiencing. While you're there, you can also book a 30-minute or a 60-minute coaching call with me. So we can just kind of do a deep dive and find out what the next best step is for you. Regardless if we work together or not, you'll definitely take something away from the time together. So you guys have a wonderful day honoring your values this week. I hope you found this class useful. And of course, reach out to me, connect with me on my website, reach out to me with any questions if I can support you in any way. So have a beautiful day, everybody. Thanks so much. Bye.